Sup, David here. Today I want to talk to you about how societal conditioning can become like a big game of telephone. Okay, so we talked about societal conditioning, and we talked about how societal conditioning, most of it is actually very good, all right? A lot of the things that we as a society has produced is very good. Like we produce the internet, we produce buildings, we produce infrastructure, we produce a video camera, we produce different cultures, we produce diversity. It's a beautiful thing, right? Witnessing, various cultures all around the world. So these things, are really, really good for society. And the thing here is, a lot of these things are really good, and that is the confusing part. It's because a lot of things that we produce as society is very good, but there are some things that are very bad. And that's where the confusion can take place. Because we're used to seeing that, oh, society, they're producing great things. So society must be right. Society must be right. And so we go with this conditioning of society, but when things are bad, we also tend to follow as well. So we have to be able to distinguish between what is real and what is false, and follow our own questioning, in a sense, and follow our own critical thinking. Okay, so how society can be like a game of telephone. So I'll give you an example of this. So let's say that you are at a company, and at this company, they have this company policy, but you're looking at this policy and you don't know why this policy is here. You don't know why this rule is here. It's like, why is this here? It doesn't even make sense. But because this is company policy, and you're supposed to abide by company policy, your boss tells you, hey, that is company policy and you have to follow the rules. Even though the boss doesn't have a reason either why they should follow the company policy, right? That becomes their excuse, right? No, these are company policies and you have to follow it. That becomes their excuse. So maybe that policy, maybe it made sense at one certain point in time. Maybe in the past, it kind of made sense, right? So we had this company policy that made sense a long time ago, but things evolve, right? Things can become obsolete, things adapt with technology and stuff like that, and maybe that policy isn't as relevant anymore, okay? So that policy has been passed down from generation to generation, and it can become like diluted in a sense. The message can become diluted or even obsolete. And that policy, it might make sense for certain specific situations, but not for other situations. So the big point I want to make here is you want to be able to question things. You want to ask yourself, why is this here? What is the purpose of this, right? And because it can become such thing like as a policy or technology or rules, even laws or anything really, ideas, beliefs, these things can become like a big game of telephone, even tradition. Like some traditions that we have, it's like, what is the point of this? We question some of these traditions, and there doesn't seem to be a point except for the fact that, hey, it's tradition and we have to follow it, right? So if you're not familiar with the game of telephone, in other countries, it's called Chinese whispers. And what they do is they have a certain message at the beginning, and this person at the beginning passes that message along to another person, and this person passes it to another person, and so on and so forth. And usually, by the time it reaches the last person in line, the message is completely different than the original message, right? It becomes diluted during the transition process. It gets lost in transition, if you will. So this can happen, again, with like the company policy, it can get lost through the passing down through generation after generation, right? So again, you want to be thinking for yourself. Don't follow something, don't believe something just because a form of authority said something, no matter how high of a status they are, no matter what position they have, no matter if they have a white suit on or not. This is the famous Milgram's experiment, right? And it's a very popular experiment where they had these authority figures in like white suits tell somebody to do something, and if an authority figure tells you to do something, you're more likely to do it. So whether if anybody said it, even if I said it, if anybody said it, but to process it through your own critical mind, to think about it, to question it, and to make sure it makes sense, makes logical sense with a good reasoning and a good motive behind it, right? And I talked about, again, the difference between critical thinking versus illusion-based thinking. You don't want to be, there's a difference. So you don't want to have something come at a belief or any idea with a set of biases, right? You want to let go of any biases, be really open-minded, be objective, and also think about it. Like really ask, like, is this useful? Is this rule useful? Is this rule relevant? Or is this good for society? Is this good for us? And ideally, you want to make things in a win-win situation, right? That's a win for everybody. But yeah, so make sure to always be thinking for yourself. I always encourage that. Be critical thinkers, but also be creative thinkers. Also think creatively as well, and be creators at that. So that's all I had for this video. Hope you found value out of this one. I'll talk to you in the next one. Thanks.